Hey guys, this is Jerry from Slapdash Minis. I'm going to do a little video here showing what I've got in my toolbox and what you probably should have in your toolbox if you want to start scratch building models. Anything from building your own tanks and big terrain pieces to custom minis and the whole 9 yards. Right, first thing you need is actually a toolbox. You can go just about anything you want, from a cardboard box to something big and expensive. You don't really have to spend a lot of money. I got this thing from Home Depot. They were 2 for $5 on sale. It's a little Stanley organizer. They're great. It keeps everything organized. You don't lose nothing. Alright, probably the first most important thing you're going to need if you want to start scratch building models is a good hobby knife. I personally really like this type. They're dirt cheap. Blades are cheap. You can get a lot of them for your money. They last a pretty good long time, and they're really good for making nice long straight cuts. Buy blades, huge packs of them. A lot of people like this type of knife, the round, old school X-Acto type knife. I hate them. The tips break off on them constantly, get wedged into your models. If you're trying to do a long straight cut against a ruler or something, it just wanders all over the place. So honestly, I bought this knife just for the video to show you. I absolutely hate them. I think they're a complete waste of money. If you like them, more power to you, but for me, this is what you call a razor saw. They're pretty cheap. They're about $5. You can pick one up at a hobby store. You can also take a look around for similar things at like a Home Depot or whatever. A lot of times they sell them without the handles. You got to buy the handle separate. But be honest, in small work, I don't think I've ever actually put the handle on the thing. So they're pretty good, essential for doing cuts. You can do their blades super thin, so you can cut right through. Like if you want to hack the arm off somebody and save the arm and save the model, works perfect. Absolutely a must. And also for cuts, this is a miter box. Same kind of thing you'd see at like Home Depot for cutting 2x4s, just a lot smaller. I picked mine up at a hobby shop for probably about $10. It's one of the better investments I've made, because without it I cannot cut a straight line across a piece of pipe or whatever to save my life. And keeping on with the theme of cutting tools, this is a pipe cutter. Meant for cutting copper pipe and whatnot for doing plumbing in your house. I've got one at home specifically for that, but I use this one here for cutting plastic tubing. If I'm making like a tank cannon barrel, cutting exhaust or whatever, gives a nice, clean, accurate cut. If you do happen to use one for copper piping, don't ever try and use it on plastic piping, because it will never cut straight again. Just because the copper is a lot harder and it messes up the blade. And these are, again, like anywhere from like $5 to $10. You can pretty much do this whole toolbox for under $100. And of course, assortment of various pliers, needle nose, regular. These are just dirt cheap ones. You don't need anything more than, something that's on sale at a surplus store or at Home Depot. And also another essential tool, good old hobby clippers. I picked these up from Games Workshop probably 10 years ago. I've gone through tons of pairs of them in my life, but these things are essential. Don't try and pick up like wire cutters or wire strippers, because they don't have a very flush edge here, so you won't get anything that's remotely accurate. And once you do have these, don't use these to cut metal, because like any clipping wire or anything else around the house, because you will ruin them. I destroyed a good expensive pair of them one day trying to cut a coat hanger in half. That did not end well. Next thing you're going to need is a really good steel ruler. Do not skimp on buying one of these from the dollar store or something like that, because they're not straight, they're not flat. And if you're trying to use this to measure and cut a straight line, and you've got something that's got a bow in it, it's completely useless. You're just going to be mad at yourself and wreck it. I actually got this one out of a carpenter's square I've been using at home. This thing is great. It's probably the best one I've had. Probably $15 for the square the thing came in, and it's great. You'll never have to replace it. Absolutely worth the money. And speaking of squares, this one I'm using constantly. Miniature carpenter's square. This thing is great, because if you're going to be scratch building stuff, you got to be able to figure out where the 90-degree angle is. I don't care if you're trying to do something that's Orky or Eldari, you got to be able to make a 90-degree angle, because otherwise it just looks off. And I love this thing. I use it constantly. Again, this is a really, really good one. Probably 15 bucks at Home Depot. Same brand as the other one here. This one's really good because even when you loosen the pin to adjust it, this doesn't really move around a whole lot because there's a little spring in there. So it keeps it nice and accurate. Got all sorts of your various files here. You don't have to spend a lot of money on these. Check out surplus stores, things like that, Princess Auto, all that kind of thing. I don't think I've spent more than $1 on each one of these over the years. They do wear out, so pick up extras, but these are actually, a lot of these are basically done, but that's pretty much all the files you need. You don't need a great big huge collection of 30, 40 different ones with different random curves and whatnot. Got a round one, triangular one, nice curved one with a flat side, and just a straight up flat one. With those four, you can do anything you want. And if you're going to be working with any green stuff, a couple of different sculpting tools are essential. These are both basically the same one. This is an old one that I got from Games Workshop years and years ago. It's great, works perfect. Been using it for years. Do all sorts of different sculpting things. I'm not the greatest with sculpting, but it works for me. This is another one. I really have no idea where it came from, but about the same thing. I've got a few other little ones here and there, but this is all I ever really use. Let's see, pin vise. Always very, very useful. Anything from drilling out gun barrels, small ones, little ones, pinning models together. These things are essential. You can use a Dremel tool if you want. I've got one. I don't think I ever really use it for that kind of thing. I use mine more for grinding. But yeah, these things are great. They're not too expensive. Again, these are ones I got from GW years and years and years ago, but you can find these at any decent hobby shop kind of thing for, you know, around 10 bucks, that kind of thing. They'll last you forever. They're absolutely worth it. I really 90% of the time just use 2 different size drill bits, so I just keep them in 2 different pin vices because I'm a lazy man. And then I've got another one with just a piece of wire in there. It's awful dirty. I normally use that just to clean out the tip of my glue bottles. Tweezers, good pair of tweezers. Don't cheap out on these. Don't buy like dollar store ones. Don't use the ones your girlfriend uses to pluck her eyebrows with the really wide tips, because, well, they're not meant for that. They're useless for that. The tips are really, really big and you can't see what you're doing. Again, these are probably a $5 pair or something like that from a hobby shop or from, I don't even remember where the heck I got these. But don't cheap out on them, because if you buy ones where the tips don't line up properly and you go to pick up a small part, that part's just going to go ting and you'll never see it again. Until you pick it out of your foot about a week later after you stepped on it. And if you're going to be scratch building, you're going to need a pencil. Pencil's a pencil, except I really like having a mechanical one because I can get a really, really fine point. This is a really good drafting pencil, but use whatever you want. This is just the kind that I really like. And again, you can find these at lots of different stores, any sort of like Office Depot kind of thing, like that type of deal. Uses a different kind of lead. It's a mechanical lead that pops out, but you still have to sharpen it. Sharpener's just in the end there. I've been using these for years. It's really all I like to use for anything. Alright, next thing you're going to need is a couple of different clamps. Different clamps for different things. Use a little spring clamps. A couple of little sliding quick clamps. To be honest, you can never have enough clamps. I have, in my garage shop at home for working on carpentry, I have a wall of clamps and I still run out all the time. You can pick up ones like this and like this at the dollar store. They're adequate for modeling. These ones are slightly better ones. I got on sale at Canadian Tire a few years ago. But you definitely need something to clamp your models together with when you're trying to hold everything, keep it all nice and square when glue is drying. A candle, not for when the power goes out, but if you ever need to melt anything, you know, bend somebody's arm, which really doesn't work that well, but bend pieces of piping. Maybe you're trying to make an exhaust system on an work vehicle. Maybe you're trying to make some sort of refinery type deal. Need a little bit of heat. Be very careful when you're using this. Don't set fire to the plastic you're using. You will get high as hell, and you can really get hurt. So just be very careful when you're doing that kind of thing. Well ventilated area, yada yada yada. For working with plastic, I really like this stuff. Comes under a couple different kinds of names. This one's called FlexiFile. There's another company used to make it called Pro Weld. Basically, it's what you call a plastic welder. Testers makes a similar thing. Tamiya makes a similar thing. It's just a liquid plastic cement. Really, really strong. The bond is actually usually a lot stronger than the plastic around it once it's done. Rock solid, really strong for putting together plastic models. Doesn't work on anything else, but most of our stuff's made of plastic anyhow. I absolutely recommend this stuff. I don't recommend the thick, gooey stuff that Games Workshop makes. Just honestly doesn't work that well. It's not very strong. This stuff is great. And putting together everything else, good old super glue. This stuff's a brand I really like. It's by a company called Bob Smith Industries. Pick it up at just about any hobby shop. You might not be able to find this brand, but go to a real hobby shop, model train store or whatever. They'll have something similar that'll work really, really well for you. Pretty good value. Glue's rock solid. I like buying the gap filling stuff. When you're buying super glue from a hobby shop, they'll have all sorts of different kinds. Make sure you go for the gap filling. Don't get the extra thin or anything like that. The extra thin super glue tends to make one hell of a mess. I once basically glued my hand into a fist because of it, and that was very unpleasant. And when you're using super glue, it goes along with the super glue. Same company makes this stuff called Instaset. It's a super glue accelerator. You give it a little, and it just makes the glue dry within a couple of seconds. You don't have to hold it forever to make sure it dries, because sometimes super glue just, for some bloody reason, takes forever to dry. This stuff is absolutely great. Speeds everything up. You gotta be careful using it. It stinks. Also be careful using it. If you're using this brand with this brand, you're okay. But every now and then you'll find a brand of accelerator and a brand of super glue, and you mix them together, it makes a hell of a lot of heat. I have gotten some pretty good first-degree burns out of that. And I'm not kidding, it hurts like hell, and it will do a lot of damage. I've had it start melting models, that kind of thing. You gotta, if you can't get these brands, you gotta do a little bit of experimenting and pay attention. It's not gonna be an issue on a metal model, but I've had it warp plastic, that kind of thing. Alright, one last thing to add, I almost forgot about. Something to cut your stuff on. You can use a desktop if you really don't care about it. You can use a piece of cardboard, but I don't like it because it gets all warped and doesn't lie flat. The best thing you can get actually is one of these self-healing cutting mats. You make a slash in it with a knife, and within a couple seconds it closes right up. You can barely tell where it was. It stays nice and flat, really good. I know this one's pink. That's because I picked it up from the dollar store. You can get different ones, bigger ones. You have to shop around, because if you want one of the bigger ones, they can run anywhere from $15, where I got really lucky where I got mine for my desk at home, to over $100. Don't go to like a fabric store or whatever. Check out like surplus stores that have that kind of stuff. I think I got mine from a college bookstore, so they normally sell that kind of stuff at discount. Just got to keep your eye out. Don't spend a pile of money on them, but it's a lot better than ruining a desk. I know my wife would be very upset with me if I wrecked the kitchen counter or something because I was slicing into a model on it. Alright, this is Jerry from Slapdash Minis, just showing the kind of things that you should and really need to have in your toolbox if you're going to be serious about scratch building models that are heavy conversions. I've been playing for a lot of years, and I've built up a big collection of stuff. And to be honest, any orc player worth his salt really needs to have just about everything here, because GW doesn't make all the models we need yet. Come on, Buggy Kit. Everything look good?
Good enough.
Sexy.
Well, it's you.